Savannah, Georgia, a city known for its timeless beauty and lingering whispers of the past. The Spanish moss draped over the trees seemed to guard secrets too heavy for the human heart, and the cobblestone streets carried the weight of stories never told. Among these streets, hidden in the corner of a modest flower shop, Olivia Harper found solace in the quiet simplicity of her work. To most, she was just the local florist with a gentle smile, but to those who truly knew her, which were few, she was a woman piecing her life together after enduring unimaginable loss. Olivia's world had crumbled 3 years prior. Once a promising art student in New York City, she had been caught in a whirlwind romance with Ethan, a charismatic architect. Their love had been the kind that ignited rooms and drew envy from onlookers, but it wasn't built to last. A tragic accident claimed Ethan's life and left Olivia battling guilt, grief, and a constant question, what if I had done something differently? Seeking refuge, she returned to her hometown, abandoning her dreams of art for the quiet comfort of arranging flowers. Life in Savannah was predictable and safe, until Caleb Ashton walked into her shop one rainy afternoon. With a storm raging outside, he carried an old leather journal and an air of quiet intensity. "Are you Olivia Harper?" he asked, his deep voice barely cutting through the hum of rain. Taken aback, Olivia nodded hesitantly. Caleb explained that he was a writer, researching for a novel set in Savannah, and had heard about her through mutual acquaintances. What he didn't reveal was the real reason he was there, a reason tied to a letter he carried in his coat pocket. A letter Ethan had written to Caleb just days before the accident. Caleb was not like anyone Olivia had met before. He was introspective, reserved, and carried a weight in his eyes that mirrored her own. Over the following weeks, he became a regular at her shop, ostensibly to discuss the city's history and collect inspiration for his novel. But their conversations often drifted toward personal topics, lost dreams, regrets, and the unspoken pain they both carried. Caleb's presence began to awaken something in Olivia that she thought was long buried: hope. But Caleb wasn't just a writer searching for inspiration. He was a man running from his own past. Years earlier, he had been a rising literary star, his debut novel earning critical acclaim. However, the pressure to replicate his success, compounded by personal failures, had left him creatively paralyzed. Moving to Savannah was supposed to be his fresh start, but meeting Olivia complicated everything. The letter from Ethan burned in his pocket, a reminder of the secret he feared could destroy the fragile connection they were building. As their bond deepened, Olivia found herself stepping out of her self-imposed isolation. She returned to her art, drawing inspiration from Caleb's stories and their shared moments. Savannah, with its haunting charm, became her canvas. Caleb, meanwhile, began to write again, his words flowing for the first time in years. Together they seemed to be healing the wounds life had left on them. But the truth had a way of surfacing, and Caleb knew it was only a matter of time before Olivia discovered the letter. One crisp autumn evening, Caleb invited Olivia to his favorite spot in the city, a secluded bench overlooking the river. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the water in hues of gold and crimson, Caleb tried to speak, his voice catching in his throat. "There's something I need to tell you," he began. But before he could continue, Olivia's phone buzzed with a call that pulled her away. The moment passed, but the weight of Caleb's unspoken confession lingered. Olivia, sensing his unease, grew distant in the days that followed. The trust they had built began to fray, and for the first time since meeting Caleb, Olivia felt the familiar chill of uncertainty creep back into her heart. What was he hiding? And why did she feel that the past she had fought so hard to leave behind was about to catch up with her? Unbeknownst to her, the letter held answers to questions she didn't even know to ask. And when the truth finally came to light, it would force both Caleb and Olivia to confront their deepest fears, their greatest regrets, and the possibility that love could still triumph over the shadows of their past. Unbeknownst to her, the letter held answers to questions she didn't even know to ask. And when the truth finally came to light, it would force both Caleb and Olivia to confront their deepest fears, their greatest regrets, and the possibility that love could still triumph over the shadows of their past. The days following the interrupted conversation by the river passed in a haze of unspoken tension. Olivia buried herself in work, her fingers deftly weaving together intricate floral arrangements as her mind churned over Caleb's mysterious words. Caleb, in turn, retreated into his writing, his once flowing inspiration replaced by gnawing guilt. He couldn't bring himself to reveal the truth, and the letter from Ethan remained hidden, tucked away in a drawer he rarely opened. But life had a way of pushing them back together. One chilly November morning, a local charity reached out to Olivia, requesting her help in organizing a fundraiser gala. The event was meant to revive Savannah's aging art scene, and they needed her artistic eye to transform the venue. Reluctantly, Olivia agreed, realizing the opportunity could rekindle her dormant passion for creativity. To her surprise, Caleb was also involved, volunteering as the event's literary consultant. His task was to curate a reading of local poetry and prose, blending his love for words with the night's artistic theme. Thrown into close proximity once more, the pair could not avoid each other. Olivia tried to keep things professional, but her defenses weakened as Caleb's genuine enthusiasm for the project shone through. Despite the lingering shadow of his unspoken secret, there was an undeniable connection between them, a magnetic pull neither could resist. Slowly, they began to rebuild the tentative trust they had once shared, sharing late-night coffee breaks and quiet laughter as they worked tirelessly to prepare for the gala. As the event approached, Caleb began noticing subtle changes in Olivia. Her artistic spirit, once subdued by grief, now radiated through her every action. She sketched designs with newfound confidence, her passion reigniting in a way that seemed to light up the entire room. Caleb couldn't help but admire her resilience, even as his guilt grew heavier. How could he, a man burdened by his own failures and lies, deserve someone like her? The gala arrived on a crisp Friday evening. The venue transformed into a wonderland of lights, flowers, and art. Guests mingled beneath chandeliers adorned with Olivia's floral creations, their admiration for her work palpable. Caleb, dressed in a tailored suit, watched her from across the room, a mixture of pride and longing in his gaze. She was captivating, her joy infectious as she moved through the crowd, sharing her vision and soaking in the praise. But the night was not without its complications. Midway through the evening, Olivia encountered an unexpected face from her past. Margaret, Ethan's sister. Margaret had always been fiercely protective of her brother, and seeing Olivia with another man stirred old wounds. She confronted Olivia in the corner of the room, her words laced with accusation. "How can you stand here smiling when Ethan's memory isn't even cold?" she hissed, her voice trembling with emotion. The confrontation rattled Olivia, dredging up the guilt she thought she had left behind. Caleb, noticing her distress, intervened, gently guiding her away from Margaret and into a quiet balcony overlooking the city. "What happened back there?" he asked, concern etched across his face. Olivia hesitated, torn between opening up and shutting down. Finally, she admitted, "I've spent years trying to move on, but I can't escape the past. And now it feels like I'm betraying Ethan by even being here." Caleb's heart ached at her words, knowing he held the very thing that could either shatter or liberate her. "You're not betraying anyone," he said softly, his eyes searching hers. "You've carried enough pain for a lifetime. You deserve to be happy, Olivia. Ethan would want that for you." His words provided a small measure of comfort, but Olivia still felt the weight of Margaret's accusations. The night ended with bittersweet emotions, the high of the successful gala overshadowed by the encounter with Margaret. Olivia withdrew again, retreating into the safety of her flower shop and avoiding Caleb's calls. Caleb, meanwhile, found himself at a crossroads. The letter was no longer just a piece of paper, it was a ticking time bomb. He could not delay the truth any longer, no matter the cost. Driven by determination, Caleb made his way to Olivia's shop one evening, clutching the letter tightly in his hand. She greeted him with guarded eyes, her once open demeanor now replaced by a wall of caution. "What are you doing here, Caleb?" she asked, her voice cold. He hesitated, every instinct screaming at him to leave, but he forced himself to speak. "There's something you need to know," he began, his voice shaking. "Something I should have told you a long time ago." Slowly, he handed her the letter, his heart pounding as she unfolded the paper. The room fell silent as Olivia read Ethan's final words, her expression shifting from confusion to shock to anger. "You knew him?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. Caleb nodded, guilt etched across his face. "We were friends in college. We lost touch, but he reached out to me shortly before the accident. He wanted to reconnect, and he mentioned you. He told me how much he loved you, how you brought light into his life. After he died, I couldn't bring myself to throw the letter away." Olivia's hands trembled as she clutched the paper, tears streaming down her face. "And you didn't think to tell me? You let me think." Her voice broke, unable to finish the sentence. Caleb stepped closer, his own eyes brimming with tears. "I was scared, Olivia, scared of losing you. But I see now that keeping this from you was a mistake. I'm sorry." The air between them was heavy with unspoken emotions. Olivia felt betrayed, not only by Caleb's deception, but also by her own heart for letting him in. Yet, amidst the pain, there was a flicker of understanding. Caleb's actions, though flawed, had not been driven by malice. He had been as lost as she was, searching for a way to heal. "I need time," Olivia finally said, her voice steady but distant. Caleb nodded, his heart sinking as he left the shop, unsure if he had just lost her forever. That night, Olivia read the letter over and over, Ethan's words mingling with her own conflicted feelings. The past and present seemed to collide, leaving her to grapple grapple with a single question. Could she forgive Caleb and herself enough to embrace the possibility of love again? "You knew him?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. Caleb nodded, guilt etched across his face. "We were friends in college. We lost touch, but he reached out to me shortly before the accident. He wanted to reconnect, and he mentioned you. He told me how much he loved you, how you brought light into his life. After he died, I couldn't bring myself to throw the letter away." Olivia's hands trembled as she clutched the paper, tears streaming down her face. "And you didn't think to tell me? You let me think." Her voice broke, unable to finish the sentence. Caleb stepped closer, his own eyes brimming with tears. "I was scared, Olivia, scared of losing you, but I see now that keeping this from you was a mistake. I'm sorry." The air between them was heavy with unspoken emotions. Olivia felt betrayed, not only by Caleb's deception, but also by her own heart for letting him in. Yet, amidst the pain, there was a flicker of understanding. Caleb's actions, though flawed, had not been driven by malice. He had been as lost as she was, searching for a way to heal. "I need time," Olivia finally said, her voice steady but distant. Caleb nodded, his heart sinking as he left the shop, unsure if he had just lost her forever. That night, Olivia read the letter over and over, Ethan's words mingling with her own conflicted feelings. The past and present seemed to collide, leaving her to grapple with a single question. Could she forgive Caleb and herself enough to embrace the possibility of love again? The days following Caleb's confession were marked by an uneasy stillness in Olivia's life. The letter had torn open wounds she thought had healed, forcing her to confront her grief all over again. Yet, amidst the pain, there was clarity. Ethan's words, written with love and a hope for her happiness, planted a seed of forgiveness. But forgiving Caleb and herself would be far from easy. Meanwhile, Caleb struggled with the weight of Olivia's silence. He spent his days pouring his emotions into his writing, producing chapters that mirrored his turmoil and longing. Though his heart ached for her, he respected her need for space, leaving the outcome of their relationship in her hands. Olivia began revisiting places tied to her memories of Ethan, seeking closure. She walked the pier where they'd shared their first kiss, visited the cafe where he proposed, and finally stood at the cemetery where he rested. For the first time in years, she spoke aloud to Ethan's memory, pouring out her pain, regrets, and gratitude. "I loved you," she whispered, her voice trembling, "but I've been holding on to you for so long. I forgot how to live. You wouldn't want this for me. You'd want me to find joy again." A sense of peace washed over her as she placed a single rose on his grave. For the first time, she felt ready to let go, not of the love they shared, but of the pain it had left behind. With newfound resolve, Olivia threw herself back into her art. She transformed her grief into a powerful collection of paintings titled Shadows and Light, depicting her journey from loss to healing. Each canvas was a testament to her resilience, a celebration of the beauty that could emerge from darkness. When the gallery hosting her exhibit approached her about a grand opening event, Olivia hesitated. Public appearances were never her strength, but this felt important. It wasn't just about showcasing her work, it was about reclaiming her voice. She sent out invitations, including one to Caleb, unsure if he would come. With newfound resolve, Olivia threw herself back into her art. She transformed her grief into a powerful collection of paintings titled Shadows and Light, depicting her journey from loss to healing. Each canvas was a testament to her resilience, a celebration of the beauty that could emerge from darkness. When the gallery hosting her exhibit approached her about a grand opening event, Olivia hesitated. Public appearances were never her strength, but this felt important. It wasn't just about showcasing her work, it was about reclaiming her voice. She sent out invitations, including one to Caleb, unsure if he would come. The evening of the exhibit arrived, and the gallery buzzed with excitement. Guests marveled at Olivia's work, their praise validating the months of effort she had poured into each piece. Yet her heart raced as she scanned the crowd, searching for a familiar face. Caleb arrived late, hesitant to intrude but unable to stay away. Dressed simply, he carried a copy of the manuscript he'd been working on, a novel inspired by their time together. He watched Olivia from a distance, admiring her confidence as she spoke to guests. She looked radiant, a woman transformed by her journey. Finally, their eyes met, and the room seemed to fade away. Olivia excused herself from the crowd and approached Caleb, her expression unreadable. "I wasn't sure if you'd come," she said softly. "I almost didn't," Caleb admitted. "But I had to see this. You've created something incredible, Olivia." He handed her the manuscript. "This is for you. It's not perfect, but it's honest, just like us." Olivia accepted the pages, her fingers brushing against his. She glanced down at the title, Letters from the Shadows. Her heart swelled with emotion as she realized the depth of Caleb's sincerity. "I read Ethan's letter," she said after a pause, "and it helped me understand something. He wanted me to be happy, and so do you. I've been holding on to pain for so long, I forgot what it felt like to hope, but I don't want to forget anymore. Caleb's voice wavered. Does that mean? It means I forgive you, Olivia interrupted, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. And I forgive myself. We've both been trapped by the past, but maybe it's time to see what the future holds. Their reunion wasn't marked by grand declarations or dramatic gestures. It was a quiet, heartfelt moment that spoke of understanding and second chances. Caleb took her hand, and they wandered through the gallery together, their connection stronger than ever. Months later, their lives had intertwined in ways neither could have imagined. Olivia's exhibit was a resounding success, with her work gaining acclaim beyond Savannah. Caleb's novel, published with Olivia's blessing, became a bestseller, touching hearts with its raw portrayal of love, loss, and redemption. Together, they embraced the challenges and joys of building a new life. Caleb supported Olivia as she expanded her art studio, and Olivia became Caleb's sounding board for his next book. Their days were filled with creativity, laughter, and a shared understanding of what it meant to overcome the shadows of the past. One sunny afternoon, as they strolled hand in hand through Savannah's historic squares, Caleb paused and turned to Olivia. "Do you think the shadows ever really leave us?" he asked. Olivia smiled, her eyes reflecting the sunlight. "No, but they make the light shine brighter." Their story wasn't a fairy tale. It was real, messy, and beautiful in its imperfections. And as they moved forward together, they knew the shadows of Savannah would always be a part of them, not as burdens, but as reminders of how far they had come.